Welcome to Electric Libertyland, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
Well, hello, everybody, and I'm not alone today. For the first time in my life, not alone, finally, somebody here with me. I am joined by the one and the only Dave Rubin. Of course, you know him from the Rubin Report. You know him as an author of Don't Burn This Book and another forthcoming book, I believe, in 2022, early on. And, of course, a man who has was brought to Liberty by the one and the only Larry Elder, who is running for governor here in the state of California. Dave, welcome to the show.
Brian, it's good to be with you. Before we do any of this, can I just say I love the branding on this segment, and I love that music. I do my August Off the Grid, and I was on a freaking major disco kick, okay? Major disco kick. I want you and everyone watching this, if you want to pause this for a moment, I try not to tell people to pause things, or I know some of these things are live.
It's live streaming. There's no way to do it.
We're live streaming, right. I guess you can't pause the live stream. Is that possible yet? Not yet. They don't have the tech on that yet. But I want you to listen to Soul by Frankie Valli. He had a little disco period, not with the Four Seasons, just solo, late 70s. The song Soul, it will blow your mind. It's awesome. That was the song of my summer.
I can't wait. Was this a silent disco? Were you just literally out in the woods, dancing with earphones on, with rave sticks, or how did it go?
Well, we were in a Mexican treehouse in the rainforest for most of it, but then we were back here in LA, and I don't like anyone here in LA. Well, I like you. You're here, but there's not many people. There's not many people I like here in LA. So we just hunkered down in the house and we smoked a lot of meat and listened to disco. That was pretty much how my summer went.
It sounds like heaven. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, as you said, people, California, right? I mean, we're on the eve of what is hopefully a momentous occasion, and I'm releasing this early, this segment, because we want to get word out. I mean, I already voted. I'll tell you that. I dropped it down. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. I probably should have voted in person because of the balloting issue where there's a hole in the back. You can see if people might have voted for Larry Elder. But I did vote for Larry Elder. My wife and I walked it down, popped in the Dropbox yesterday. So we've got a man named Larry Elder. If you don't know who he is, shame on you out there in the world, but he is a very popular radio show host out here, a longtime conservative, libertarian, and he's running for governor. Now, latest polls, Dave, I don't know if you saw, but they have released a poll today from 538 showing divergent factions here. It looked like it was neck and neck, and now the latest one, they're telling us, oh no, it's going to be in a landslide for Gavin Newsom staying. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, first off, just on Larry Elder as a man and as a libertarian, until Larry ran as a Republican in this recall race, he always described himself as a small L libertarian. Larry is basically, in my estimation, and we've talked about this a bit before, as close as you're ever going to get, at least sort of in our modern political time right now, to a good, decent libertarian that can communicate the ideas properly, get support behind him, has the internet people, but has mainstream because he's a radio guy, has the endless amount of knowledge that is in that guy's head. He is a stat machine and someone that is just fully ready to take on the machine. This is the guy. He's got the whole freaking thing. By the way, you may have noticed I didn't mention the color of his skin. I don't care about the color of his skin. I don't think he really cares about the color of his skin. But, the Democrat machine and the mainstream media, big tech, I did it on my show this morning. I mean, if you just put his name in Google right now, just put Larry Elder in Google, look at the endless hit pieces about him. Nothing about what he believes, nothing about how great it is that a black man is the leading candidate, whether you like his policies or not, how great that is for, a young black boy to see, oh, maybe I could do that. Nothing positive. It's just endless lie and smear about him. As you know, the LA Times called him the black face of white supremacy. They also did an article where they implied when he went to Venice and had a white woman and a monkey in a gorilla costume throw an egg at him, they wrote the story up as if a police altercation involving Larry Elder in Venice. And they used a picture where it looks like he's touching this woman's face as if he slapped her. It's a supporter of his that he hugged, if you watch the whole video. So anyway, on the Larry side, on the Larry side, he's like as good. It was insane.
Sorry, I'm talking over. Keep going.
No. It's just nuts. It's, as you can see, I'm a little hyped up about Larry and what's going on here today. So on the Larry front, it's like he's the right guy to get so much of what guys like you and I care about across to the finish line. Now, look, Cali is a one-party state. We know there are more Democrats than Republicans, but one of the biggest lies, and there's been a lot of lies in this recall election, one of the biggest ones has been that this is a Republican recall. Brian, you've been out to some of these events. I've been to these events. The people that are recalling Gavin, that hand signed that recall at the height of the pandemic when they were telling us not to leave our houses and people still went out and did it. The 2 million people that signed that thing, I met them. I met these people. I was at a ton of these events about opening up the state. They are not Republicans. There are Republicans, but most of them are regular California Democrats or independents or completely apolitical people who want to go to work, who want their kids to go to school. I would say they're liberals who are mugged by reality more than anything else. The idea that this is a Republican recall or a Trumpian recall or whatever they're trying to say. And if you want to just see how gross the whole system is, they throw old Joe Biden in yesterday because obviously they're not that confident. Otherwise, why do you have Obama doing an ad out of nowhere? Joe Biden shows up, Kamala's here. Joe Biden refused to even say Larry Elder's name. Refused to say his name, kept calling him a Trump
Are we sure he didn't
clone.
forget? I mean, come on. Who are we talking about here?
The best, yeah, right. So the best way we can sort of spin it is, Joe does have dementia, so maybe he forgot Larry's name. But first off, that's just just genuinely offensive. I know everyone gets offended over everything, but that's just genuinely offensive. Like, say the man's name. It's like you guys fear him like Voldemort. But it's not just that. He then called him a Trump clone, and it's like Larry Elder was born in South Central LA. His father was a janitor. That was the Trump story too? I forget. I'm blanking actually. Was that the Trump story?
Keys on something I think that's so important about Larry Elder, and the fact that he is somebody that came up, that he's from here, he has that story. He has that origin story that everybody wants in America. And I think it's been a problem with a lot of libertarian candidates and libertarian positioning in general, in that it's always about tearing down, right? It's never about giving a positive philosophy, a positive vision of the future. And I think Larry does a good job of saying, look, here's the problems, but I want to fix it. Here's what we're going to make better. Here's how I'm going to make your lives better here, California. And he is an inspiring figure. And we looked at, like I mentioned, the polling results. They're saying there was some erroneous poll, and that's why they were so close. And I just don't believe it, especially when you have Obama, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders rolling out here. Are these figureheads from a failed movement of socialism really going to convince anybody not to change the circumstances in our home state here?
I mean, Brian, look at what's going on here. You got Obama, Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Gavin Newsom basically versus Larry Elder, me, John Voight, and Scott Baio. I like our chances, man. I like them. I really like them. I like those guys. Scott Baio's cool. John Voight,
if you get the Baio bump, man, the Baio bump is massive. We all know that.
Look, the Baio bump, John Voight helped, the Americans defeat the Decepticons. We all know that. Right. So, like, anything is possible here. But as far as the polls, to squarely answer your question, this is what they do. They, right before the election, they try to make it sound like, there's no chance, to depress the voters. We all know that. Look, you live here too. Drive down the 101, the 405. There are recall Gavin signs everywhere. The events that I've been to, thousands of people showed up, like Trump rallies. Show me where people are really showing up for Biden. Actually, a whole bunch of people did show up for Biden yesterday to protest Biden, and F Biden, which is like the new thing going around the internet right now.
College stadiums are F Bidening all over. It's hilarious.
You're not going to believe this, but I'm starting to think that people want to make decisions for themselves and want to walk outside and breathe fresh air and talk to other humans. I know that that's crazy right-wing stuff, but I'm starting to think it's catching on.
Well, that's what I'm getting a little bit white-pilled. I had two different progressives. I was telling some of my audience about this. And dyed-in-the-wool, these people could not be reached a year ago, have come to me and said, you know what, I think I'm a libertarian now. And this has just happened. I mean, and it's between the homelessness and COVID and just the general kind of cultural wokeness that's overtaken everything. And these are people, one lives in Venice, the heart of homeless craziness, where Larry, she probably could have waved at Larry as he walked beneath her house. And the other one is just in the entertainment industry. But you see the poisonous ideology and how it's seeping in. And I swear people are waking up, which is why I believe that this will be a close election. I believe Larry has a legit chance to win. But here's the question for you now. Okay, let's say he doesn't. Maybe there's shenanigans, maybe there's not. If he doesn't win, what's our next step? What do you think that we should do to try to keep the momentum going here? And is he going to stay? And I know you and Larry talk. Is he going to stay at the forefront? And is there a next step for him in mind?
Yeah, so first off, I'm thrilled to hear you say that about the white pilling of some people, especially people that you know, not just internet people, like real people in your life, because I've had some of that too. And, people could just track my own evolution, which is very public online. If you watch what I was talking about over the course of, 6 or 7 years at this point, that the step from waking up from being a lefty really is to become a libertarian, because libertarians and lefties do believe in a lot of the same things, in that we want life to be decent for people. But one, the answer is, oh, government's messed up, let's give more power to government. And then the other, which obviously guys like us think is the correct one, is, oh, government's messed up, let's get it out of your life. Let's starve it so it can't do all those bad things that you lefties are always screaming about. So there's a beautiful way to white pill the socialists and the lefties and the progressives. And I think perhaps now that they're seeing how absolutely horrible the Biden administration is, they're seeing how evil big tech is. They're seeing, if you live in California, how progressive cities, forget California. I mean, if you live in Portland, if you live in Seattle, if you live in New York City, if you live in any big city run by lefties, it's a nightmare. Those things are not disconnected, right? Like there's some connection between policy and then the things that happen. So I love hearing that people are getting white pilled. As far as what do I do? I mean, look, it's the same as you, Brian. Like, I love the weather here. I've got good friends here. I actually like running a counterinsurgency. I like when I go to the supermarket, and now, I try not to wear the mask, but every now and again you got to put on. But when people tap me on the shoulder, oh, you're Dave Rubin, right? And they're like, I'm like you,
Yeah, right.
And and I like that. And you came to one of my Rubin Report locals meetups, and we had about 100 people at a bar, all laughing, having fun, height of the pandemic, no masks, everyone enjoying themselves. And it's like, we're all sort of outsiders. And that's the irony, is those people, the lefties, think that they're the resistance, but meanwhile, they're always sucking up to the power.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of dig it. I kind of dig fighting. That being said, look, I've given this thing everything I've got. I've helped Larry in every which way possible. Larry is a great man. If it doesn't go the way we want, I think a lot of people have to rethink where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And I would include myself in that. I'd probably include Larry in that, probably include you in that, because at what point does hope then come? And then I'll end with this, which is, though, if you're right about the white pilling part, that maybe a whole bunch of people were white pilled in this to kind of shift our way, then that does give you some long game hope. But the question always with progressives is, how much can they destroy before we can turn it around?
Yeah, living in the dystopian future, we can get back the prison nation of New York with Snake Plissken, aka Kurt Russell, who, by the way, libertarian. He's on record.
Is Kurt Russell a libertarian?
Kurt Russell said he's a libertarian. Yeah, I don't think I haven't heard him really give political speeches about it, but he has stated it. Maybe you have the power in the poll to get him on.
I'll see what I can do, but I know that New York Mets former catcher and LA Dodgers catcher Mike Piazza just cut a video for Elder today, so that's good.
Oh, really? Nice. Well, that's it. See, it's funny when you talk about, and I know, we don't want to go too long because we want to get this message out, but we talk about getting people kind of on board, shaking people up and getting them to realize just how lazy, and I've been talking about this a lot, how lazy left thinking is, how lazy left ideology is, and that these people who consider themselves revolutionaries are, in fact, buying into the least amount of pushback, just floating along the stream. And of course, we all know what happens when you go along to get along for long enough. It always ends up shit. Shit runs downstream, and these people are in the tubes drinking their pina coladas and floating down dressed up in their Met Gala dresses, floating down the shit stream to the end of it. And
you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, AOC is the perfect example of that. She doesn't want to fight the power. She wants to be in with the power as she trolls the rest of us with the dress. And by the way, the rich are taxed, and the rich pay almost all taxes in the United States. Yeah. We showed a diagram from the IRS. I think they have a little info on this today to show that the rich pay pretty much. If you make over $100,000, you basically pay all the tax. I mean, it's as simple as that. And we could, I'm for a flat tax, but we can always argue about taxes. But AOC, it's not that she's fighting the power or against the elite. She doesn't like some of the people in power now, so she just wants to replace the people in power. I would prefer that the people in power just not have that much power. That's the much more honest assessment. So yeah, we can get more people to our look. If you're walking around in 2021 going, boy, the government's doing a great job when it comes to COVID and when it comes to foreign policy and when it comes to the economy, it's like you got to be taken to a hospital and have your head examined. And by the way, there's room at the hospitals because they're not overrun by COVID. I know we have to say that they are, but they're not.
Nobody's
so you should go and get a CAT scan.
Right, exactly. One more thing, just because this news broke, and then I'll let you go. One of my favorite comedians of all time, Norm Macdonald, just found out he passed away today. I didn't even know he had cancer. I don't think many people knew, but I wanted to see if you had any just quick thoughts on Norm, his comedy, and kind of any initial thoughts or last thoughts, I guess, on kind of what the man stood for.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I just saw that in the last hour. I actually met Norm once when I was over at Aura TV, which was Larry King's digital network that I had a show on. He was doing Larry's show. We chatted for about a half hour in the green room. Just nice, decent guy. I think we did talk a little bit about politics, and I think he kind of was where we are politically. He obviously wasn't too much of a political comic. But some of the things that I'm seeing people read, people that knew him, especially comics that knew him, everybody is just absolutely devastated. But I will say this, when he was on Weekend Update, that is like, to me, him, Dennis Miller was my core years, like really core years, sort of late 80s, early 90s. And then I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure it was Norm that picked up from him. And then I think it was Colin Quinn, if I'm not mistaken.
Watching. Yeah, I was big into the Norm when I took over, because I'm a couple years younger than you, not that many, but yeah, it was Norm all the time for me, and same thing, I came to absolutely adore him. And he was also on Dennis Miller's show on HBO, and was killer. He just, first off, the way he spoke, and just the drawl and that sardonic wit. And he knew, like, even when he busted a joke, when it fell flat, it was even sometimes funnier than when the joke hit. He was just great. And I miss that time when Weekend Update was funny. Wouldn't that be great if you could turn on Saturday Night Live? I haven't watched it honestly in 20 years, but wouldn't it be something if you felt like you could turn it on and it wasn't just leftist drivel, it was actually funny jokes? So even though I didn't know him that well, obviously, like, I'll miss the guy. And, anytime we lose, there's something about losing comics, especially in this time where comedy's been so beaten and become so woke, and there's so many just awful ones. It's like, we need the good ones. So I'll miss him just as much as anybody. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is that, he did have that. He basically just would say what was funny. He didn't give a shit. Even as things turned, culture changed, Norm could not give a damn. I did a comedy show with him in the back of a garage. It was a big comedy show in the back of a garage. But, he came out and just same old Norm, could not give a shit. And I wonder if we were denied more Norm Macdonald because of the way the culture's changed. I'm sure the guy kept writing. And it just breaks my heart. So anyway, Dave, you are a champion of men, man. Thank you so much for coming on short notice. And I'll let you know, hopefully I'll text you later if I can make it out and meet you up. And also, we are on Locals. We did it. We made the jump. We're trying to build the fan base and get people over there, but we're on there now. So check us out, lionsofliberty.locals. And it's a great platform, man. So
hey, Brian, by the way, I've got a jet waiting on the Van Nuys tarmac. So in case the election doesn't go the way we want, I have about 10 people I'm bringing with me to the undisclosed location. So you're in.
Yes, thank God. Can I bring my wife? It's not a big, I don't really care that much, but I'll,
let me talk to my guys. There's a weight thing, All
right. Well, I'll see you on the tarmac, Dave. Thanks again, everybody. Check out Dave and, of course, Dave Rubin Report, or Rubin Report. There we go. All right. And bye.